Early predictions showed this year was supposed to be a doozy when it came to hurricane season, but so far it's been relatively quiet. Why that's the case and how quickly it can turn.
So we want to make sure you're prepared when it comes to bad weather, from knowing what to do when lightning strikes, to taking care of your roof and trees, to knowing what to do when the power goes out.
And if you've been left in the dark before, you know several minutes, let alone hours without power can be a little bit unnerving for you and your little ones. So we also offer you alternatives.
Plus, ideas to help you get prepared inside your home for you, your family, and your pets.
Delmarva Life's Storm Preparedness Show starts right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Bryant.
I'm Jimmy Hopper. Welcome to Delmarva Life from historic Studio D. Now, you may recall back in May, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, predicted this to be an above average hurricane season. Well, here it is September. We haven't seen much tropical activity in the Atlantic Ocean.
Although we are seeing some activity right now as Tropical Storm Gabrielle is lashing Puerto Rico. They're facing flash flooding and mudslides. But if we learned anything from Superstorm Sandy last year, a major storm can pop up as late as October. So what's going on? Were the experts wrong? Well, here to shed some light on the issue is WBOC Chief Meteorologist Dan Satterfield. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's been kind of a dull summer.
It has. Well, at least as far as the tropical Atlantic is
Exactly,
concerned, right.
exactly. And I know, Dr. William Gray with Colorado State University also said we are going to have a above normal hurricane season.
NOAA did. Bill Gray's group did as well. And so far, it's been very quiet. As a matter of fact, August had no tropical storms in the Atlantic at all. The last time that happened was 50 years ago.
Wow.
We had you on the show back, in May. We were talking about the season, and you said back then you don't give much credence to these predictions.
No, and most meteorologists don't. But here's the thing. We have to try to learn. But most meteorologists feel that the best thing to do is to make the prediction and then tell everybody about it after the hurricane season is over, because the skill on these forecasts is really very, very low. So every time you see that, you should in your mind say, highly experimental, very likely to be wrong. I really don't like the ones that come out and say we're going to have 8 to 14 hurricanes and 7 tropical storms. There's just no way the skill is there. This year, everything they predicted was pretty much spot on as far as the jet stream and the water temperatures, but we had an extra surprise. The dust coming off Africa was very intense all summer. And that dust kills hurricanes.
Okay, so usually we see a couple by now. Is that what's doing it this year?
Yeah, there's nothing going on in the eastern Atlantic because a tropical storm comes off. You're seeing that's actually the dust from a NASA model coming off Africa, and that's right now. And those plumes of dust kill any development. Now, the development that happened last night, Gabrielle, happened on the western edge, away from that dust. And so anything that develops is going to develop either in the western Atlantic, closer to our coast, or in the Gulf of Mexico or the western Caribbean, as long as that plume of dust keeps coming off Africa.
And when you say dust, are you talking about something that's coming from like the Sahara Desert?
It is. It is the Sahara
Really?
Desert, and those strong easterlies that tend to give us a lot of hurricanes also can pick up the dust. And that was where they missed because the dust was intense. I lived in Florida, and it was not uncommon in the summer to get a little shower and you start running your windscreen wipers, your windshield wipers, and you'd see little dust coming down. And that dust is from the Sahara Desert. I tried to convince my wife of that. She still doesn't believe it. But I'm telling you, it really is. It's from the Sahara Desert. But hurricanes, if they're in dry, dusty air, they're not going to develop.
Okay,
and that's
so
what's going on.
We're like towards the peak of the season, so
Yes.
can we still have something develop?
Oh yes, we sure can. And one thing to remember is in, I think it was '89, Hurricane Andrew, worst hurricane to ever hit Florida. It was the only hurricane that year. There's the peak, exactly on September 10th. That is the day most likely to see a tropical storm in the Atlantic Basin.
It's interesting how it peaks on one day and
sure
then it
does.
goes right
And then it
down.
starts falling off very rapidly, you notice. And so once we get 2 weeks beyond September 10th, the odds of getting a hurricane out there really start to drop. And by the way, there's another thing that peaks on September 10th. Can you guess what it is?
Water temperatures?
Exactly right.
Look at you!
Oh, wow.
So what does that mean?
Well, the hotter water causes more hurricanes. And so once the temperatures in the Atlantic start to cool down, the risk of a hurricane drops as well.
The risk, the probability,
Yeah, the probability
possibility.
that one's going to develop.
Okay, so we're at the peak. Do you think that we're going to get
My
a bad
gut
season?
feeling is that we still have some tropical storms and hurricanes to develop, especially in the western Atlantic and in the Gulf of Mexico. And here's one of the reasons. These are the water temperatures, and I'm not just showing you the actual temperature. The red is where the water is above normal. The dark red is way above normal. And notice off the eastern coast of the United States and out into the mid-Atlantic there and off of Africa even,
It's
how
warm.
warm the water is. The water off the east coast of the United States has been at record levels almost all summer.
So
How
we've
about
got all the fuel that we need. We just need a spark to kick it
Yes,
off.
exactly. And if in the tropics, sometimes you can look at the map day after day after day and look at the satellites, and nothing's going to happen. Then all of a sudden, it's like a switch gets turned on.
Is that why we've had such a wet summer here on
The
Delmarva?
warm water, yes. The atmosphere is just full of moisture. So we had these cool fronts that come through, and you'd have a day of nice, pleasant air, and felt almost fall-like even in July. And then it would turn right around, and our dew point would soar to way above normal. You know, a dew point of 72 here in the summer, that's normal. A dew point of 77 or 78, that's really getting up there. But we would do that all summer long. We had these incredible swings from drier, pleasant air to extreme humidity because of all that warm water out in the Atlantic.
Okay, so we've talked about Bill Gray. We've talked about Colorado State University. We've talked
NOAA.
about NOAA. Farmer's Almanac is another one that's been famous for making their predictions.
Yes.
A lot of
and
people rely on it.
I know, and there's a famous scientist, Dr. Richard Feynman. He is a Nobel laureate, Nobel Prize in physics, and he had a favorite saying of mine, and that is, "Science is what we do to keep from lying to ourselves." You know, you can design any forecast to never be wrong. If I say, for instance, like they said, the Super Bowl, it's going to be cold at the Super Bowl, and there might be some snow. Okay, you know what the odds are of a week in Pennsylvania in the mid of January of having snow? About 60%.
Pretty good
Yeah.
odds.
More than likely, you're going to be okay. And then you add in the fact that people that will want to believe that will adjust their thinking so that it was right. We call that confirmation bias in science. But in any event, if there's even a flurry, even though they say there's going to be a major blizzard, people say they got it right.
Told you so.
Right. And people don't remember the misses. They only remember the hits and something like that. It's kind of like your horoscope. You say, yeah, I knew that was going to happen in the horoscope. People remember that kind of thing. So, yeah, there is no way to use any kind of thing like planetary alignments or anything like that to forecast the weather. Believe me, we've tried.
All
Tried
right.
it.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so much. Wonderful
Glad
information.
to
Now,
be
tell me
here.
real quick, you've also got a Facebook page now.
Yes, and you can go to that anytime. You know, people in the news said, you know, you're always putting all this weather stuff on our thing. So we have our own Facebook page for
Right.
weather alone. So you can get all the geeky stuff you want on our weather Facebook page now. Between Mike and Brian and I, we're going to put a lot of stuff
A
on
lot of
All
geeky
right.
stuff
Yes.
there. Chief
Thank you,
Meteorologist Dan Satterfield, thank you so much.
And still ahead on Delmarva Life, we continue our storm preparation show. You know, you can't help but watch as it mysteriously strikes across the sky. But lightning, it's dangerous, causing millions of dollars in damage to homes each year. We'll show you how you can protect your home and all your valuables and belongings inside.
Okay, now we all know that we should have an emergency kit available just in case we get stranded in a storm, but there are other essentials that you need to have on hand before, during, and after the storm. We've got a checklist for you.
And later, a lot of the apps many of us have on our smartphone are for social networking or if you're Jimmy playing games.
Yeah,
But did
yeah.
you know there are apps that could be life-saving? We'll get a look at some smartphone apps that you'll want to download before a potential storm. Delmarva Life, we'll be right
I
back.
can't believe you just threw me under the bus.
Always.
Delmarva Life is brought to you by Sussex County Federal Credit Union, guiding you to your financial future. Peninsula Regional Medical Center, honored to serve the entire Delmarva Peninsula since 1897. Your local York and LG dealers, and State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.